Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Pathways to God and Significance. My name is Michael Venema. This is number 9 in the series, The UNLAST Days of Jesus. And in this video, we're going to cover Mark's account of the burial of Jesus and the discovery of the empty grave. Now, following that, there is the ending of Mark, which is controversial, and that we will look at in the last video in this series. So, we're almost there. Now, you might remember from the last video that we consider the death of Jesus as Mark tells it. And that event is of such great importance that we lingered over it for a while. And later in this video, when the time is right, I'm going to say one more thing about Jesus' death. When Jesus dies, which we saw last time, the army officer likely in charge of the execution provides what I called in the last video a brilliant confession. He says, this man was truly the Son of God. And you can go back to video number 9 to hear some of the comment on why that exclamation is so important. But anyway, now it's time to move on. Jesus, it appears, is no more. Mark notes that some women witnessed from a distance the killing of Jesus. These women were from Galilee, from the northern part of Israel, an area known for its Jewish faithfulness. And of course, the execution had taken place just outside of Jerusalem. So this is a reminder that Jesus' influence had extended all the way from the northern regions to the devout people of the Lord, all the way down to Jerusalem in southern Israel, Jerusalem, the official center of Jewish life and faith. So Jesus' impact had extended from the backwater, so to speak, Galilee, to the high places of the Jewish nation. Now, here's the end of Mark 15. I'm just going to read it. There were women watching from a distance, among them Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of the younger James and Joseph, and Salome. When Jesus was in Galilee, these women followed and served him, and had come up with him to Jerusalem. Late in the afternoon, it was the day of preparation, that is the Sabbath eve, Joseph of Arimathea, a highly respected member of the Jewish council, came. He was one who lived expectantly, on the lookout for the kingdom of God. Working up his courage, he went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate questioned whether he could be dead that soon and called for the captain to verify that he was really dead, and assured by the captain, Pilate gave Joseph the corpse. Having already purchased a linen shroud, Joseph took Jesus down, wrapped him in the shroud, placed him in a tomb that had been cut in the rock, and rolled a large stone across the opening. Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of Joseph, watched the burial. Now, as far as the story goes, there's nothing surprising here. A man clearly identified, Joseph, from a place called Arimathea, sees to it that Jesus is properly buried. There's a conversation involving the governor Pilate and the army officer in charge. The Jewish Sabbath is about to begin, so it's important to get the unclean, dead body properly buried. Jesus' body, beyond saving, it is lifeless. It is put away. Now, a few times during this video series, I've said that the ending of the story of Jesus' last days has a great surprise, and you may or may not know it, but here it is. And again, I'm just going to read Mark's account. But when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so they could embalm him, I think to give Jesus a dignified Jewish burial. And so very early on Sunday morning, as the sun rose, they went to the tomb. They worried aloud to each other, who will roll back the stone from the tomb for us? Then they looked up and they saw that it had been rolled back. It was a huge stone. They walked right in. They saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed all in white. They were completely taken aback, astonished. He said, "Don't be afraid. I know you're looking for Jesus, the Nazarene, the one they nailed on the cross. He's been raised up. He's here no longer. You can see for yourself that the place is empty. Now, on your way, tell his disciples and Peter that he's going on ahead of you to Galilee. You'll see him there, exactly as he said." They got out as fast as they could, beside themselves, their heads swimming, stunned. They said nothing to anyone. Now, if this were a kind of a one-time event that has no background, no context, it will be difficult to seriously work with it, difficult to believe. But it does have a background, and it does have a context. And that background, that context is fully Jewish, and that background and context is found in the history and the faith of the Jewish people. Everything about this context and faith is no mystery, it's no secret, it's there in the Jewish scriptures for any of us to read, and it's there in the Jewish scriptures that we in the church is called the Old Testament. So first, a few details. An angel, the response of being frightened when an angel shows up, and the angel having to say, "Don't be afraid," and then the angel telling the hearer why the angel has come. Such stories are scattered throughout the Old Testament. In other words, this story in Mark of what the women saw at the tomb is a fully Jewish story. And also, as I may have discussed in an earlier video, there are a number of stories of people rising from the dead before Jesus and after. So again, from the point of view of Jewish life and faith, this story makes sense, a great deal of sense. I'm not saying it's easy to believe. Not everyone then believed it, and not everyone now believes it, but it is not a one-off, a random event with no context and no foundation. The story is established on a foundation. It has a context. Now, there's one other very large way in which the raising of Jesus back to life is tied to the Jewish scriptures. Jesus was raised on the third day. He died on a Friday, day 1. He remained dead all through the Sabbath, Saturday, day 2. And he came back on the Sunday morning, day 3. And as it turns out, there are plenty of third days in the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures. The first signs of life appear on the third day in the first creation story. On the third day, God creates plant life. And in that creation story, 3 days later, God creates human life. That's one thing. Then there is the story of Jonah in the Old Testament. Jonah is as good as dead. He ends up underwater in a great storm at sea. A large fish swallows him and then vomits him back onto dry land to carry on with his mission. How long was he in the belly of the fish? 3 days. In a small Old Testament book called Hosea, we find these words, chapter 6, I'm pretty sure. I'm paraphrasing it a little and keeping it a bit short. These are the words. God hit us hard, but by the third day, he will have us brand new, alive, back on our feet. In Exodus 19, again in the Jewish Bible, the people are gathered at Mount Sinai, where God will give them the laws for their new homeland. God tells Moses, the leader, to prepare the people for God's arrival. When will he come? You might be guessing. Yes, on the third day. And lastly, for our purposes, there's the story of Abraham and Isaac. God has asked Abraham to sacrifice his little boy. Now, in those times, it did happen that some of the people in those regions practiced child sacrifice to their gods. So, for Abraham to be tested in this way makes sense. But in the case of Abraham's God, the test turns out only to be a test. At the last second, God interrupts the sacrifice. So, in one swoop, God tests Abraham, but also lets it be known that child sacrifices are not part of the deal with the true God, the God of Abraham. Now, here's the thing. Abraham led his precious son on a trek to the place of sacrifice. And when did they see it? On the third day. So just as Isaac was as good as dead, but lives on the third day, so Jesus also, who was as good as dead, comes back and lives on the third day. Now, as I promised, I said that when the time was right, I would say one last thing about the death of Jesus. And that time is right now. As it turned out, it was not the death of the son of Abraham, not the death of the son of Abraham, that would ensure that God's purposes would be fulfilled. It was the death of the Son of God that would ensure the unstoppable salvation that God has in store for the world. So, there's a few things there worth chewing on, I would say. In the final video, we'll look at the strange ending of Mark, how it sort of is part of the Bible and sort of isn't. So, I'll see you for the conclusion of the unlast days of Jesus. Thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell so that you will know about new videos coming out. See you next time.